Our next speaker is Marshall Taplits, co-founder and chief strategy officer at NYNJA. Marshall is the CSO and co-founder of NYNJA, a company that is building a global communications app featuring an on-demand freelance network. Marshall.
For having us. We've been to a few D10E events, and we really enjoy coming to them. They're always interesting locations and great speakers. So we started NYNJA about 2 years ago, and our vision basically was to take the advanced security of the blockchain, and we wanted to extend it into the communications industry, which is where actually we have our main background. And we wanted to basically fundamentally change the way that people communicate, okay? And also the way we work as a society. So let me just, 1 second. There we go. So with the ever-growing data sets that banks and companies and governments are acquiring over the last 10 years, we've been starting to notice that our data is becoming attraction for hackers, basically. So if you look at Facebook, if you look at retailers having their credit card databases hacked, and even some government banks and databases, the data that we've traditionally relied on, centralized businesses and governments and data stores, we've realized that now this is just an attack surface. And it's very dangerous to be storing our data in this manner. So, and also a lot of the companies that started in the internet age, like Google, for example, with their "Don't Be Evil," I just read even this morning that Gizmodo broke that they've now removed the "Don't Be Evil" completely from their code of conduct. So we've learned that you cannot really trust people or companies to maintain their original morals or what they say they're going to do, and we have to use technology to enforce it. And that's one of the best things about blockchain technology is exactly that the data itself is decentralized and the individual owns their keys. And we take that very seriously at NYNJA, and that's why the system we're developing is based on blockchain technology and not based on centralized data stores, as much as possible. As you know, it's an evolving industry, so we're going to keep moving in that direction. So what we've done is we've invented the NYNJA VOS. So we say it's a VOS, virtual operating system. And the reason why we are calling it a virtual operating system is because if you look at, going back a number of years, everybody had Windows, or Mac, and you had to install programs. But then things started happening in the browser, and it didn't matter whether you had a Mac or a Windows or whatever. As long as you had access to a browser, you could access what you needed to. Now, Android runs on Linux, for example, but nobody cares. And you use apps that run on Android, but again, nobody cares that it's even Android. Or iPhone, you're just using the app. So what's happening is we're abstracting more and more layers, and we're creating these virtual operating systems that operate cross-platform without regard to the underlying operating system. So NYNJA, we're coming out with our virtual operating system, so it's not going to matter whether you're on Android or iPhone or Mac or Apple Watch or Alexa or whatever. It's going to work cross-platform, and that's what we mean by virtual operating system. So what we did is we built this global platform, and we've got about 40 programmers right now full-time. We're coming out at the end of the year. So we built this platform, we peeled back all the different communication layers, and we're creating a truly frictionless platform. So this platform, even though it looks like a messenger in its base, but in fact it's much more. So the features that we're bringing to the table here are much more than you're familiar with in terms of WhatsApp or Telegram or any of the current messaging apps, and we're providing that these communication features can actually be embedded using our SDKs and our APIs so that other developers can build their own apps within our platform. So if you're familiar with WeChat in China, for example, where I lived for 15 years, you'll notice that these messenger ecosystems are actually much more than apps. They're platforms that people build on top of, and they handle not just communication features, but also commerce, governance, and a variety of other important features. Now, the thing is that with the internet, over the last, let's say, 15 years, communication has basically gone global. So we're at a very interesting point in human history, because if you look back, at like the 1800s, when the printing press came out, we finally got the ability to produce information and move it around, right? To transmit information. However, it's only because the printing press and physically moving paper is so slow, we had an uptick in literacy, right? But it wasn't really until the Industrial Revolution and then in the 80s and 90s with the internet that the literacy rate and the access to information went global. And it's no surprise that when information is free and people can access information, then they can educate themselves. And when they can educate themselves, then we get into really interesting things. And so what we feel right now is that as the internet age is ending and we're entering the blockchain age, communication is a given. And if you can't communicate, you can't collaborate. So that's why we started as a base with the messenger. Okay? But what we're actually building is an entire commerce and governance platform on the blockchain. So what we want to do is we want to, let me just go here. Okay, so what we want to get across to our audience here is that when you have increased literacy rates, you have increased education. When you have increased education, you have increased access to wealth, the ability to earn a living, and access the global economy. So literacy and information is directly tied to being part of the global economy and having a high quality of life. So if you look here, everywhere in the world now, except for some parts of Africa and India and a couple other small places, we have achieved a literacy rate of over 90%, which is incredible. And especially in countries like China, where I live, I mean, they've literally tripled and quadrupled literacy rates just in the last 100 years. So literacy and access to information is the key. India is particularly interesting because India only has a 27% illiteracy rate, so it's actually one of the largest pools of people that are not yet literate, and they are coming online at the same time. In the next few years, there's several billion people that are coming online, and they're looking to join the global economy. But it's a prerequisite that they have access to information. So one moment. So if what we want to do here is if we enable people to communicate properly and we enable them to join the global economy, we're going to be able to lift all the world's people and give people a middle-class life. And this is really the core of what NYNJA is about, is inclusion. So not only is it important to note that as literacy rates increase, people get wealthier and have access to information. But the other interesting shift that we're targeting with NYNJA here is the global workforce shift toward freelance labor and freelance marketplaces. So most people don't know this already, but 35% of the American workforce is already in a freelance type of position. So that means they don't have a full-time job, they don't go to an office every day, they're working in what we call the gig economy. And by 2020, I believe, 2022, it's at 50%. That's of America. And of the world, by 2030, is going to be 80% of the world is going to be on the freelance economy. It's already 20%.
I'm very curious about my voice at the beginning of the...
And where it gets even more interesting is most people, when they think about the freelance economy, what they're actually thinking of is like, oh, maybe it's some people in India or Philippines or some undeveloped country. But it's not true. It's actually happening all over the world. It's global. And this trend is really important because what's happening, a lot of countries that are developed, like United States and United Kingdom and Canada and Germany, these are countries that have, tremendous labor laws and tremendous rules around work. But it doesn't matter because the technologies that are coming out between communication and now blockchain technology, they're enabling people to just kind of do whatever they want. It's creating a freedom that people have never had before, and they're joining the freelance economy in their own developed countries. But that's also happening at the same time in undeveloped countries. So you have like India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Ukraine, etc. And these people, they've never had the regular work model. They're leapfrogging right into the freelance economy as well. So what you have is entirely globally bubbling up of a change in the way people work and the way they interact with each other and the way they make their living. And this global economy is virtual. Another interesting fact is that the way people learn their skills and the way people educate themselves is also changing, and this is happening globally. Only 41% of the world now is learning their skills for their life and for their work in university. Most people are either self-taught or on the job. And although I don't have the chart here, the trend toward self-taught is going absolutely parabolic. So if you're familiar with Khan Academy and OpenCourseWare by MIT and Masterclass, there's all these free programs, even YouTube. There's nothing you can't learn today if you have access to information, if you have access to the internet. And when you can self-teach your own skills based on whatever you want to learn, there's no stopping as to what you can actually do in your life. And it doesn't matter if you're in a developed country or if you're in a undeveloped country. It is truly one globe. So what NYNJA is doing is we are building the tools that people need in order to support this massive change that's happening in the world right underneath our noses. And it's really cool because the current stack of technology companies out there, whether it's Google, Facebook, Upwork, Fiverr, etc., they're so bogged down with their current verticals in terms of the banking rules in the countries they operate in and the government rules and all these different barriers, and they can't leapfrog actually into the next generation of platforms and tools that the people of the world who are actually educating themselves and the next 2 billion people coming online and the people in developed countries who are kind of being displaced and winding up in the freelance economy, the platforms that are available today are simply inadequate. And if you've used any messenger tool or any platform available today, there's nothing out there that allows you to seamlessly end-to-end operate in terms of communication, commerce, governance, smart contracts, and all these things. And so what NYNJA is building is a virtual marketplace where we can auto-assign labor to projects. So for example, when you're using the NYNJA Messenger and you need to get something done, you can actually generate a task request from any message bubble. And that will be auto-assigned. If you're familiar with Uber, how it auto-assigns you a ride, well, we can auto-assign you a worker. And what's great about that is it takes out all the friction of job postings and interviews and all these things. And the truth is, people aren't really good at choosing who's good at what. We have a much better way with blockchain technology, smart contracts, reputation systems, that we can actually recommend to you, this person will be good, that person will be good. And not only that, but you can actually unlock these people that get auto-assigned to you into a direct contact, which then you can work freely with, and you can also recommend them to other people and take a cut of any future work in like a smart contract, almost like a LinkedIn in-mail, but instead it's a recommendation. Okay? And this is really exciting because with cryptocurrency, we can go global on day one. And so what we're really excited, like I've used Upwork for 10 years, and I still can't pay people in Pakistan. They don't take Payoneer, they don't take PayPal, whatever. So, this is a really exciting opportunity. And a lot of people who are currently in the, thinking about being in the freelance market, but they're not necessarily willing to take the time to make a portfolio and make a profile and all these things. But if you just want to kind of turn on the app and jobs start coming in, it's a great way to earn extra money. So we think we're going to get a lot of traction as we support this booming freelance economy that's going global within the context of our messenger. And developers can also build on top of our platform using this labor pool. So if you're familiar with Amazon Turk or anything like that, it's kind of like that, but much higher level order of work. So how are we going to get users? That's the big question. So we've got a two-pronged strategy. On one hand, we're looking at some acquisitions, which will give us a user base on day one. We have a targeted global marketing strategy with a fantastic team. We have enterprise partnerships that we're starting to form. And then on the other side, once we have users, how do we make money? Well, we are not predatory. We do not take 30% off of like Apple and Google. We want to take as thin transactions as possible. We'll start with 15%, but we're trying to get it down as low as possible. We have an opt-in advertising platform, which is very, very interesting because what it does is it lets brands only market directly to the people who actually want to hear about them. And it also allows people to crowdsource content that's interesting for advertisers, but in an opt-in way and getting paid. So no more data tracking, no more predatory advertising. We're also going to take very small transaction fees from all the on-demand labor contracts as we arrange them. But again, the goal is not to take the 10 and 15% that the current platforms take. We want to be as efficient as possible, and we want to leverage the blockchain technology and reduce our operating costs as much as possible to be able to be as supportive of this industry as possible. And also, we're looking into a crypto exchange to help our users that earn the NYNJA coin tokens through the platform and help them to convert that out into Ethereum and Bitcoin. And within our platform and within our app, we actually have an open source multi-currency wallet, Bitcoin, Ethereum, NYNJA coin as a starting point, and then others can build on top of that. And it's going to be server client, which nobody has open source right now, and that will be able to be embedded into other platforms that other developers want to use, and there's no charge. It's completely free. So we're starting our ICO June 15th. We're currently in the private sale. We have 5 billion coins, of which we're selling 45%. It's 5 cents a coin to start. And we're keeping 20% in reserves in order to help grow the economy. And we also have identified 30% for marketing and customer acquisition, 20% of tokens for development. So all the token economics and everything are very sound. You can read about them in our white paper. And yeah, I encourage, and it's going to be on the Ethereum blockchain. Some people have questions about scalability and this and that. We're actually developing our platform blockchain agnostic, just in case EOS or one of the next generation, really get it going. We can potentially move. But right now, we love Ethereum. We think they're going to make it with Casper, and we think they're going to overcome the scalability issues. So we're sticking with it. We invite you to participate in the ICO if that's interesting to you. And finally, the team. We have a fantastic global team. We have 8 people in 8 countries speaking 20 languages. None of the founders or upper management live in the country they're born. We are truly a global team executing a global vision. So I invite you to scan our QR code, join our Telegram group, go to any of our social media, and also we have the Alpha app on our phones right now. So if you want to come and meet us and just have a look at what we're doing right now, you're welcome to, and we invite you to join us. Thank you so much.